not just, hi guys, I'm here, with a huge dog background, or how it's
1 billion of us own a smartphone.
So the goal is to keep us on our devices longer. Why?
How much is too much is the question you have.
One former Google employee says this is no accident. Indeed, it is by design.
But doctors will actually tell you there gets a point that it goes beyond normal teenage behavior with these cell phones, and your child actually starts displaying characteristics of a drug addict.
Quarter had problematic smartphone usage, defined as addictive behavior.
You know, they make more money the more time people spend.
Hey, you. Yes, you.
Me?
Yes, get off your phone.
Why?
Oh, you have no idea. Let me show you.
Is addiction to the internet a real thing? Does it pose a legitimate threat? The answer is a not so shocking yes. It is very much a real threat to today's society.
This bad behavior has got to end.
From the second we wake up to the minute we go to bed, phones are the first and last thoughts in our head.
In 2019, the average person spent upwards of 3 hours a day on their phone and 24 hours a week online in general.
How much time do you spend on your phone daily?
A couple hours.
More screen time has been proven to be correlated to more behavioral issues, withdrawal and relapse from your phone, and severe negative consequences. Now the real question is, how do we break this toxic cycle of bad behavior? Enter the pain and pleasure principle. You get home from school. What do? That's right, you reach for your phone. And just like that, your brain produces dopamine every time you even acknowledge the existence of your phone, making it incredibly hard to ignore.
On average, how many hours a day do you spend on your phone?
I've never averaged it, I don't know.
It's time to own up to the problem and take steps towards fixing it.
Now comes time to retrain the brain. How do you stop reaching for your phone every time you hear it vibrate next to you? How do you stop immediately opening up TikTok when you have nothing to do?
And what are some hobbies that you do to avoid phone usage?
I go to the gym, I read, I go for a walk, I yell at my husband.
First, you have to want to put down your phone. In the moment, it may seem hard, but with time, good habits will develop. Think of it this way. That puzzle your mom wants you to help build with her might seem boring and stupid now, but think of all the potential it has in store. You will feel better mentally and emotionally, creating the beginning of a new habit, one that doesn't include your phone. The cycle is breakable. You just have to be willing to break it. Online addiction is a serious threat to everybody, and we must acknowledge and break the cycle.
We need to change the incentive. I mean, I think so long as the business model of technology companies is advertising, we are going to have a problem.
I know these past few months have been difficult for all of us. Humans are social creatures and definitely aren't made to be inside on their own for so long. However, for a few of us, nothing has changed. For the vast majority of us, quarantine has deeply affected our day-to-day. You may have seen recently that now is the perfect time to get out there and create for yourself or for others. I've interviewed a couple of people on their art and why they started, so it might inspire you to create on your own.
I've been writing for a really, really long time. I started probably with young authors a long time ago. I wrote a little story about a horse, and I didn't know it at the time, but I guess it was a competition, and it won around Casper. I do a lot of different kinds of art. I made a whole suit of armor out of cardboard. I've drawn pictures on the walls with chalk. Mostly I write and I do computer art now. Okay, this is gonna sound kind of bad. I got into art because when I got into high school, I thought that it would just be an easy class that I could skate through. It turned out I really liked what I was doing. I met Mr. Cool, and he rekindled a lot of my passion for artwork. In college, I met Patrick Amelot and really got me into English. Writing is my favorite. I've written quite a few things that touched other people in different ways, and I like to write things that will elicit emotions. Writing is kind of like a way to get really close and really intimate with people. We don't really get that close to others until we lay ourselves bare for the world to see in our art forms. I'm decent at a lot of things, but I do have to work to be good at it. I learned all the basics in school, of course, but I started writing fan fiction as a way to experiment with writing. I do a lot of experimenting, and I always try to challenge myself. It's really important to know all the rules before you break them. So it's important to know the fundamentals of grammar and the basics of whatever art form you want to do before you can experiment. And I feel like experimenting and running wild is very important to becoming good at your craft. Don't be afraid. You got to do the things that you think are hard.
When I was a little kid, I consistently played with a lot of different creative mediums. I used anything from crayons to watercolor paints. Just kind of depends if you continue with that passion into middle school or high school and beyond. That's kind of a you choice. And I found myself leaning more towards the arts as I got older. It was kind of a natural thing for me. It's hard to put down without a specific reason. And with something as easy to do as art, it's not a struggle of getting the right instrument or, manual upkeep. It's really just, I have the materials, do I have an idea? Almost everyone does in one way or another, whether that be, something as simple as, my grandmother, she was a foods teacher for many, many years and still bakes and is creative with food. It's really just as simple as I found my creative outlet in this specific thing. And I'm continuing to pursue it because it is still, in fact, an outlet for me. That hasn't changed. I think too often many art professors and people in general try to infuse meaning into art when I don't think there needs to be any. I think just expression for the sake of it is one of the most pure forms of art. In order to get good at something, you have to dedicate time and you have to dedicate purpose. My biggest advice to any new or starting artist is focus on cohesiveness. Focus on making your piece look good, and especially if you're working on your own personal art, focus on the flow of the piece rather than making it look right. That right will come with time and experience. And doing technical studies is where you'll try and aim for that right. Or doing realism is where you'll aim for that. Focus on, enjoying it and creating flow. That'll become more important when you start doing bigger projects that have more elements to them. You might have the skill, but you need the flow. During quarantine, I've been able to really find things that inspire me creatively, finding, new animators, new artists, new musicians, and being able to pull that creative influence. And hopefully when we come back to the real world and I'm able to go out and buy more supplies, I can, take what I've inhaled and exhale it and make something better. Don't stress. Your talent and abilities will come with time and persistence. If you are working hard and you have a vision, you're doing better than most people your age. To people who are older and wanting to pursue art passionately, I'd say kind of the same thing. Don't stress about it. Any kind of passion that you pursue, there is no time limit. Focus on self-improvement. Focus on seeing your own growth, and you'll find that art becomes easier. And on top of that, focus on enjoying yourself with it. You will find your way. No doubt about it. You'll find your way. Don't stress.
Thank you again to Jack Beagle and Soren Tempest for their contributions. Art can be anything you want it to be, whether that's a painting, song, dance, even photography is considered to be art. So hopefully they and myself have inspired you to go out and create something, whether that be a simple doodle or a grand piece of art, or even go out on a walk and take some photos. To all of you out there, stay safe and stay sane. I'm Ryoka Beagle, signing off.
Due to the virus, hospitals and other facilities have been running low on personal protection equipment. This equipment protects doctors and nurses from getting and spreading the disease. Because of the shortage, people in the community decided to help out by making their own masks and donating them.
My name is Joni, Joni. I am a housewife,
stay-at-home grandma,
and a stay-at-home grandma. Well, my granddaughter, is a volunteer at the Wyoming Medical Center, and she got a phone call from all the adult volunteers asking for help making masks for the hospital. And I thought it was the least we could do. Making one mask, from cutting it out to ironing to sewing, one mask takes about 45 minutes. It's not hard. It's actually fun. It's just time consuming because it's a lot of cutting, a lot of ironing, mostly ironing, and then the sewing. The sewing's no big deal. That goes pretty quick. It's mainly the ironing. It takes a lot of time. 100% cotton for the outside, and then on the inside, there's filters between the 2 layers of cotton that's made out of flannel, or you can use fleece also. I preferably like flannel because it's thinner and easier to sew, so they're not so bulky. Hope they do some people some good.
Okay.
And they're reusable, so they can be washed.
If you or anyone you know would like to help and knows how to sew, please visit the link on screen to see the requirements to make an effective mask.
But if there's one thing that you don't do during quarantine, it's lose hope. I know that these times we've all given up a lot, we've lost a lot, and there's this feeling that things won't return to normal, but that's not the case. Things will return eventually. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's a horizon to all of this, but you gotta stick it out. You can't lose hope now. We're closer than we were yesterday. Tomorrow will be closer than ever. So just hold on for a few more days, weeks, months, whatever it takes, because eventually we will get back to normal.
Wait, Jack, can you do me a favor?
Nala! Good girl.
Oh, buddy. Oh, good dog. Look how good my dog is. Sit.
Drop it.
The water. No, come on. No.
Got a new friend. Wants to play with the stick too. Shadow's not having it. Oh, and she's off. New stick. Hey, friend. Hey. Oh. Yeah, that's a good dog right there. Oh, good girl.
We're gonna look back at this in like 10 years and like, that small as a baby.
Good girl.
Maybe go to online addiction, or
I think the time management and then the online addiction. Those
That's
two
fitting.
seem like really good parallel stories. Not parallel,
Yes.
sister stories, I guess.
Hey, check this out. There's a squirrel outside. Watch Remus.
He's out. He's gone.